Tonight on Q2, images from out of this world.
This is huge. I mean, Nobel Prizes will be won off of work being done with this instrument.
We'll head to outer space with two Montana astronomers as they break down the new James Webb telescope. Plus, Fromberg frustrations begin to boil over.
Our wells were underwater. And when that happens, there's a whole process that you have to go through to get those wells back up and working.
Much of the community still without running water, and they want the problem to be fixed. And help is on the way to stem a growing crisis.
Being in a rural area, there's not a lot of people that leave high school thinking I'm going to be an addiction counselor.
Montana receiving nearly $80 million for opioid treatment efforts. The MTN News starts right now. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. We're getting our first glimpse of galaxies far, far away as NASA's new Webb telescope releases its first color images from the outer reaches of the universe, more than 13 billion light years away. It's a telescope that will help scientists unravel some of space's biggest mysteries. Tonight, Arlena Howder catches up with two Montana astronomers, including one who was with NASA when the $9 billion telescope was being built.
It's amazing what you can see through any telescope, but we've never seen images quite like the ones from the James Webb Space Telescope. Images just being released are expected to forever change the way people see space.
The scope and size of our universe is difficult to even wrap your mind around, but new photos from the James Webb Space Telescope are giving us a view of the cosmos never seen before.
If you would hold a grain of sand and hold that grain of sand at arm's length, that would be the area of the sky that observed. And there are literally thousands of galaxies in that one image alone in that part of space.
Ryan Honahoe is the executive director of the Montana Learning Center and actually worked on the James Webb Space Telescope mission while interning with NASA 10 years ago. He understands more than most just how revolutionary the James Webb Telescope is.
Just like the Hubble Space Telescope, James Webb will revolutionize our understanding of the universe.
Honahoe says the James Webb Telescope is as big as a tennis court standing 3 stories tall. By comparison, the Hubble was the size of a school bus.
I would go to wager that James Webb or the Webb Space Telescope is going to by far surpass Hubble.
A sentiment echoed by Stephen Wiles, an astronomer at MSU Billings.
It's designed to get some of the best images of the most distant things that we can see in the universe.
The telescope is giving scientists a look at everything from how galaxies interact to the chemical composition of exoplanets.
Checking those atmospheres and seeing what they're actually made out of, maybe hopefully spotting one that might have some, something like oxygen in the atmosphere.
The planet that they were studying, they discovered it's got a water-based atmosphere, and that atmosphere has clouds, and it's an Earth-like planet.
And that's giving astronomers hope that one day they'll discover other life in the universe.
It's going to revolutionize how we think about life in the universe, too. I mean, it's across the board. This is huge.
In Billings, Alina Howder, MTN News.
The road to recovery after last month's flooding is well underway for many Montanans. However, frustrations are boiling over in Fromberg, where much of the town is still without drinkable water. Our Haley Monaco traveled to Fromberg for a closer look at the challenges many are facing.
It's been nearly 1 month since the Clarks Fork River spilled its banks and flooded the town of Fromberg. Many residents here still don't have drinkable water. The town is on a well system like this one here. Nearly all of those wells have been cleaned and are continuously being tested for water safety. While Fromberg residents are still cleaning out their homes, they are also still cautious about drinking water from their wells.
It will eventually catch up if it's not taken care of. And that's my biggest concern.
Lindy O'Brien is currently cleaning out her mother's flood-damaged home that is next door to hers. Fromberg remains under a boil order, and she is concerned some residents are not taking the boil order seriously.
I know that you've got little kids that grab that tap water and get a drink. You know they do. You have an elderly person that's like, well, I've been through, this, that, and the other thing, and they just, automatic, don't even think about it.
The town's well systems were completely underwater during the flooding, and water samples in the town have tested high for bad bacteria. That meant wells needed to be cleaned, some with chlorine. But there is some hope on the horizon. New water samples are being sent to the state on Thursday.
And hopefully Friday we'll know whether we have to boil for a while longer or we get to just go ahead and they'll write us a letter stating that we can drink the water.
Water test results last week did come back with an okay to drink. However, more than one good result is needed before an all clear. And until then, Lindy O'Brien won't be taking chances, but she's hopeful she'll soon finally have safe water once again.
We still continue to bathe. We still continue to use our water for the purposes that, you know, is there for. But you're running a chance anytime you wash your head underneath the shower, you know.
In Fromberg, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
Here's something we don't see in our part of the country too often, a heat advisory issued by the National Weather Service offices here in Billings and also in Glasgow for tomorrow. You can see Billings and Yellowstone County off towards the east with some of the hotter temperatures. It's going to be hot no matter where you go across eastern Montana and northern Wyoming heading into tomorrow. So we could be looking at some conditions that could create some heat-related illnesses. If you start feeling like you're starting to be affected, definitely take cover for a while, go into an air-conditioned room. Certainly plan your time outdoors for the early morning and perhaps later in the evening. Stay hydrated and get braced for a lot more heat on the way. We've got details in the forecast coming up in a few minutes on a very hot situation.
Violent crime appears to be on the decline here in Billings compared to 1 year ago. According to the Billings Police Department, violent crime dropped 15% the first half of this year compared to the same time period in 2021. 2021 was an exceptionally bad year for violent crime in Billings. Nearly 400 assaults with a weapon were reported. That was almost triple the numbers reported in Billings in 2019.
Violent crime rate, we're patterned just with like the nation and just this general trend of just this climb in the last like 4 or 5 years, right? But the idea of this like huge spike recently is actually contrary to what all the data is showing.
Billings City Council members are urging residents to organize barbecues this summer as a way to tackle crime at the neighborhood level. We'll tell you more about that coming up tonight at 10. $80 million is headed to Montana as part of a nationwide opioid settlement involving 4 pharmaceutical companies. Many states are receiving money, and the majority will be used to fund opioid treatment efforts. As Vanessa Mashanya learned, rural areas especially stand to benefit.
Over here is our graveyard. The client chooses to, they can bury their addiction here and not have to take it with them when they leave.
The need for what Steven Martinez and his team does at Resada, a substance disorder treatment center, is growing exponentially.
In the last couple of years, we've definitely seen a dramatic increase.
Resada is located in Las Animas, Colorado, a city of nearly 2,300 people, but it could be anywhere in rural America.
The hardest piece that Resada fights all the time is the counselors. Being in a rural area, there's not a lot of people that leave high school thinking, I'm going to be an addiction counselor, I want to help this population.
The CDC says rural areas have been disproportionately hit by the opioid epidemic, made worse by the rise in fentanyl use. In a 2019 study, the CDC says the rate of opioid overdose deaths in rural areas surpassed those in urban areas, and that differences in socioeconomic factors, health behaviors, and access to health services all contributed. The wait list at Resada has gone from 1 week last year to now 3 weeks. Stephen says the lack of counselors and services has led to collaborations with services in surrounding counties, which has helped, but clients still have to travel far distances, a barrier metro areas do not face.
We have to try a little harder to get clients what they need.
The $26 billion opioid settlement offers a glimmer of hope. Each state government is in charge of divvying up the money to different efforts throughout their state. Martinez hopes it'll help with projects like this expansion.
Bottom line is Huerfano County gets direct distribution of about $30,000 a year.
John Galusha is a county commissioner in nearby Huerfano County, the first county in Colorado to sign onto the lawsuit. He's worried about how long it'll take for the settlement money to trickle in over 18 years.
When we first went into the lawsuit, the discussion was we need a new health department. that's not realistic because 30,000 a year would take a long time.
What he is optimistic about is the impact the money can have on statewide messaging.
If the state can develop the right messages, the right educational programs, that could be as big a boon or a bonus to us as anything else.
While Stephen doesn't know yet how the money will shake out and benefit his community, he knows that, with or without it, Rosado will still be there for the people who need it.
If we don't do it, who's going to do it?
I'm Vanessa Mashanya.
Well, still to come on the MTN 530 News here on Q2, Montana unveils a new 3-digit number. Numbers they hope will help bring down the growing number of suicides. And later, a history lesson. We'll dig through archives and learn of stories told by the Yellowstone County Museum.
The MTN 530 News continues right after this.